Pierhead sessions took off today with an interactive theatre performance called Kontakt. During this session, the members of the Sherman Youth Theatre group interacted with local public figures such as politicians and journalists. I was there to find out what these interactions included and what kind of topics did they discuss. What is the importance of a session like Kontakt?
Well, I think the importance is reflected in the name Kontakt, which is basically providing the conditions and opportunity for two strangers to make contact with each other, provoked by words on a card or a series of questions or drawing together without having to speak. But I think it's very unusual that we can go into instant contact with a stranger so quickly and easily as happens in the performance Kontakt.
How did you find the experience?
I very much enjoyed it. It's a very curious atmosphere, of course, which I assume is what you were seeking to generate.
And I didn't really know what to expect, but I thought it was worth, any different way of building up communication has got to be a good thing. So it was really interesting. It was very different from what I expected, but
yeah, we get that a lot. It's everyone seems to be very surprised by what they see in there, and I think the cast are also often surprised because no two performances are ever the same.
Well, this looks completely different from yours. What happened in your session?
Well, in my session, what was happening was there was a young woman who was sitting opposite me, who was one of the performers, who arrived at my desk, didn't introduce herself, and then started drawing some lines on this piece of paper. And then she handed me the crayon, so I took the picture forward, and we kept on like that, exchanging the crayon after a few seconds, and then eventually we got to this. Now, I am not a psychoanalyst, so I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to mean.
What kind of topics did you discuss in your interactions?
All sorts of things, from what brought you into politics, why are you a politician, at one extreme if you like, through to family life or another. So, I think we covered a fair range of topics given the time available.
That's the key word, the performance. How much of this is actually staged and how much of it is spontaneous? For example, these the youth that you have involved in it, they've done it before. How much are they prepared for it, and how much do they do on the spot, so to say?
Okay, that's what's prepared in terms of the performance is how it's structured. The first bit is this, the second bit is the cards, the third bit is drawing, it goes into dancing. What's not structured is the actual content of the conversation that happens between the young person and the stranger. And I think what they've learned is that the more honest and the more truthful you are, the better the dialogue that you have. I always tell them that Kontakt is really, it's a training in charisma. Charisma being your capacity to make somebody feel safe and comfortable.
Now, Susie, I noticed that you've got this lot of writing on yours. What's all that about?
Well, mine's totally different because I had the same start as you. I had a young man come and sit where you're sitting now. He put his head on the desk, didn't say a word, pretended he was asleep. I wasn't really sure whether I was supposed to try and wake him up or sort of ask if he was all right. And he was going, no, dush. And the whole thing was quite Kafkaesque in a way, wasn't it? Because you went into this room not really knowing what was happening.
What was the most interesting thing you found out today?
I think finding out about what the Sherman does with the youth theatre and how all of that works, actually, and just using some of the techniques like the cards and the drawing, how I ended up having, you sort of, you get to know is the wrong word, but you relate to people in a different way, and that was interesting too. That you using those sorts of techniques, which generally on the whole don't appeal to me very much. I'm not certainly not the drawing bit, and that was interesting too.
What do they talk about? Anything?
They talk about well, for example, when they've got the cards have a series of words on them, which might be future, expectation, anxiety, anger, cries. So that becomes, and then they choose a card, so that becomes a doorway into a conversation.
But I don't know whether my chap just couldn't draw as well as your young lady, but I've got a question about how am I this fine afternoon? And then started drawing lots of smiley faces and suns. So I thought, oh, he's in a good mood, and it turns out he's in a good mood because he's got a day off school, which is pretty good. What I didn't get questions from him about is why he thought we were here. Really, he was just pleased to have the opportunity to talk to us in a kind of strange, non-verbal way. Although I think, looking at this, I mean, we've got verbal communication here.
Maybe at the start everyone's so weirded out and a bit tense, wondering what's going on, and then as soon as the light comes on, everyone starts talking. The audience just get a sense of relief and it stopped being strange now. But someone's actually reached out to me.
This is normal now. Yeah.
But I think it was a great idea, the whole thing, actually.
And then a great big sort of sigh of relief, I suppose, at the end when we all just got up and were asked to dance. It's a long time since I've danced with a 14-year-old.
Well, indeed. But I mean, initially, of course, the thing was said, wasn't it? Can you dance? And I wrote back, not very well, but then I was actually formally asked to dance.
Oh, well, I got, can you dance?
And I thought it would have been churlish not to. So I did.
What have you learned from this kind of a process, you and the group in general?
Yeah, no, well, I'll go back to what I said before, is to stay as truthful and authentic as you possibly can, and to really engage and listen to what the other person says to you, and then you can have a decent conversation.